A 12-year-old boy walked onto the America's Got Talent stage carrying a worn-out photograph of his father, a man who vanished 3 years ago, and told the judges he was going to sing the song that would bring him home. The lights of the America's Got Talent stage dimmed as a small figure walked to center stage. The audience barely stirred, expecting another child with a big dream and a nervous smile. But there was something different about this boy. His name was Liam Rogers, and he was clutching a folded photograph so tightly that his knuckles were white. He was 12 years old, with messy brown hair and eyes that held a sadness far beyond his years. Simon Cowell leaned forward, studying the boy with his usual intense scrutiny. "What is your name, and what are you going to do today?" Simon asked, his voice carrying that familiar tone of cautious curiosity. "My name is Liam, and I am going to sing for my dad," the boy said, his voice surprisingly steady. He held up the photograph. "This is him. His name is Michael. He was a firefighter. He went missing 3 years ago responding to a call, and we haven't seen him since. They say he is gone, but I don't feel it. I feel like he is out there, somewhere. And I think if he hears me tonight, he will find his way home." A hush fell over the auditorium. Heidi Klum pressed her hand to her chest, her eyes already glistening. Howie Mandel looked at Simon, who remained motionless, his expression unreadable but his eyes fixed on the boy. The producers backstage exchanged worried glances. This was raw, unpredictable, and utterly real. Liam placed the photograph on the edge of the stage, facing the audience, as if his father were sitting in the front row. He took a deep breath and nodded to the band. The opening chords of a simple, acoustic version of Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah filled the theater. It was a song everyone knew, but no one had ever heard it like this. When Liam began to sing, it wasn't just a performance. It was a message in a bottle, cast into a vast ocean of television signals, hoping to reach one specific shore. His voice was clear and pure, but it was the cracks in his voice, the moments where he had to swallow the lump in his throat, that made it devastating. He sang about a broken hallelujah, a praise song sung in a state of grief. As he sang, he looked out at the audience, but really, he was looking past them, searching for a face in the crowd that only existed in his memory. "Sophia, can you see Simon?" whispered a stagehand. Simon's usual stoic demeanor was crumbling. He wasn't just moved, he looked haunted. He pressed his fingers to his lips, his eyes shimmering. He glanced away from the stage, trying to compose himself, a tactic the audience had seen him use 100 times. But when he looked back, a single tear escaped, tracing a path down his cheek. The cameras caught it, and the image was projected onto the massive screens. The audience gasped, then erupted in applause, not just for Liam, but for the vulnerability of the man who usually remained an enigma. Then, the first twist came. As Liam reached the final, soaring note, a commotion broke out backstage. A man in a dark jacket was arguing with a security guard, his voice rising above the music. He was holding a laminated badge and pointing frantically at the stage. The security guard, a large man named Rick, was blocking his path. "Sir, you cannot be here. This is a live broadcast. You don't understand," the man pleaded, his voice cracking. "That boy." He held up a worn leather wallet, flipping it open to reveal a fire department ID with the same face from the photograph. "My name is Michael Rogers. I am his father." The timing was unbelievable. As Liam's final note faded and the theater shook with a standing ovation, the commotion backstage reached a peak. A producer, alerted by Rick, rushed over. Her eyes widened as she looked from the ID to the man, then to the monitor showing Liam taking his bows. She made a split-second decision. Bring him. Now. The audience was still on its feet, cheering for the boy who had just bared his soul. Simon was wiping his eyes, trying to form words, when the side door to the stage opened. The man in the dark jacket walked out, illuminated by the stage lights. He looked older, wearier than the photo, but it was undeniably him. Liam, who was turning to walk off stage, froze. He stared, his mouth open. The photograph was still on the stage floor. The man took another step forward. "Liam." It was a whisper, but it was caught by the microphone. The boy let out a sound that was not a word, but a release of 3 years of pain. "Dad." He stumbled forward, and his father caught him, wrapping him in a tight embrace. The audience, which had been cheering, fell into a stunned, reverent silence, broken only by the sound of thousands of people crying. Michael held his son and looked out at the judges, his own eyes streaming with tears. I was on a call, a multi-state search and rescue operation. I got separated from my team, had an accident, suffered a head injury. I've been in a hospital in a different state for months, with no memory, no ID. It all came back to me last week. I saw a flyer online for the show. It had his picture. I knew he would be here. I drove through the night. Simon Cowell stood up, something he rarely did. He walked to the edge of the stage, his voice thick with emotion. He looked at Michael. You have a remarkable son. And he looked at Liam. And you, young man, have the most powerful voice we have ever heard. Not because of the notes you hit, but because of the love you put into them. This is what this show is about. This is real. Liam, still holding his father, turned to Simon. I told you he would hear me. Simon could only nod, unable to speak. The show ended not with a score or a vote, but with a family reunited on a stage built for dreams. It was a moment no one in that theater, or watching at home, would ever forget. Before we go, we want to hear from you. This story touched hearts all across America. Tell us, from which part of the country are you watching this video? We would love to know where our family is from.